The stars were quiet again. The long galactic war between the Terran Union and the Zorathian Empire had finally ended. After years of space battles, broken planets, and cold silence between species, a peace treaty was signed. Ships stopped firing. Worlds began to rebuild. People tried to forget. Commander Elias Thorne, a human engineer and war hero, didn't feel like a hero. He had seen too much. He had fixed broken engines, saved damaged ships, and held too many hands in the final moments. Now he just wanted peace. He returned to his ship, the Horizon Flame, expecting to go back to his quiet life among the stars. But when he arrived at the Union station, something unexpected happened. A diplomat handed him a small data pad. "Part of your reward, Commander. A gift from the treaty spoils." Elias raised an eyebrow. "A reward?" The diplomat nodded. "Zorathian property, a servant. She was taken from a noble house, fully trained, fully obedient. You may find her useful." Before Elias could respond, the doors opened. She walked in slowly, tall, slim, with silver blue skin and soft glowing eyes. Her clothes were plain, and a thin metallic collar rested around her neck. Her head was slightly bowed. She didn't speak. Elias looked at her, then at the diplomat. "She's not a thing," he said firmly. "She's a person." The diplomat gave a polite but cold smile. "That's your decision, Commander. But she is yours now." As the diplomat walked away, Elias turned to the girl. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She didn't answer. He tried again. "You don't have to be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you." Still, silence. Elias sighed. "All right, let's get you aboard." Inside the Horizon Flame, the girl sat quietly in the guest cabin. She had not spoken. She had not moved much. Elias brought her warm food, but she barely touched it. The ship's AI Solus whispered in his ear. "Her name is listed as Lyri. She was assigned as a servant to the Zorathian High Council. No record of free speech. No record of personal decisions." Elias looked at Lyri through the glass door. She sat with her hands folded, eyes down. "She's not a machine," he said softly. "No," Solus replied, "but she has been treated like one." Days passed. Elias made small talk with her every day. He told her stories about the stars, about human cities, about trees that grew without lights. He played music in the ship's lounge, sometimes letting it echo through the halls. Lyri listened. She started eating her food, quietly, slowly. One morning, Elias saw her standing by the window, watching a comet pass by. She seemed curious. Alive. "You like it?" he asked. She nodded once, barely. "Moving. You can ask questions if you want," he said, "or say anything. Anything at all." Her lips parted slightly, but no sound came. "That's all right." Elias smiled. No rush. On the 7th day, Elias was fixing the ship's oxygen filters. His hands were dirty with grease. He didn't notice Lyri enter the room. She stood there for a long moment. Then, in a soft, quiet voice, she asked, "Why aren't you angry at me?" Elias froze. He looked at her, surprised. "Angry? Why would I be angry?" "I was one of them," she said. "Zorathian enemy." Elias put down his tools. "You didn't fight in the war," he said. "You didn't hurt anyone. But I was given to you. Like a thing." Elias nodded slowly. "Yes. And that was wrong." She looked confused. "Then why are you kind to me?" He wiped his hands and stood up. "Because you're not a thing. You're not a servant. You're Lyri. And you deserve to choose who you want to be." Her eyes widened slightly. No one had ever said those words to her before. Not even close. "You don't have to stay here," he added. "If you want to go somewhere else, I'll help you. If you want to stay, I'll treat you as part of this crew, not as property, as a person." She didn't answer right away, but for the first time, Lyri looked up at him. really looked, not with fear, not with obedience, but with the smallest spark of something else, hope. The ship, the horizon flame, moved smoothly through the quiet stars. Commander Elias Thorne stood on the bridge watching the endless darkness dotted with shining points of light. But his thoughts were not on the stars. They were on Leary. Since the moment she spoke to him, a new feeling had filled the ship, a small hope. Elias knew the journey ahead would not be easy. Leary had lived her whole life under rules that told her she was less than others. But Elias believed in one thing: people could change if given a chance. Leary had begun to explore the ship more. She wandered the quiet halls, sometimes pausing to look out the windows at the strange and beautiful universe beyond. One morning, Elias invited her to visit the ship's botanical lab. It was a small room filled with plants from many worlds. Some glowed softly, others smelled sweet, and a few looked like they could reach out with thin green fingers. Leary's eyes lit up when she entered. She knelt down and gently touched a delicate flower with her slender fingers. "Do you like plants?" Elias asked. She nodded slowly. "On my world, plants are very important. They can heal." Elias smiled. "We have many plants here that can heal too. Maybe you can help the scientists learn more about them." Leary looked at him surprised. No one had ever asked for her help before. The ship's scientists were amazed by Leary's knowledge. She understood plants and biology in ways no human did. She explained how some Zorathian plants could grow in harsh places and produce powerful medicines. Elias saw the change in her. Leary's eyes grew brighter. Her movements became more confident. She no longer bowed her head or spoke in whispers. One evening, as the stars shimmered outside, Elias found Leary in the ship's lounge. She was reading a book about the stars. "What do you think?" he asked. She looked up. "The universe is much bigger than I thought, and full of strange, beautiful things." Elias nodded. "And full of people who want peace, like us." Not everyone on the ship was happy about Leary's new place. Some crew members whispered behind her back. They remembered the war. They remembered the stories about Zorathian servants who helped the enemy. One engineer, a tall man named Rax, approached Elias. "Commander," Rax said quietly, "I don't think we should trust her. She's from the enemy side. What if she's a spy?" Elias shook his head. "Leary is not a spy. She has shown nothing but honesty and kindness. But what if she changes? What if she turns against us?" Elias looked firmly into Rax's eyes. "Then she will answer to me. But until then, I trust her." Rax frowned but said no more. As the days passed, Leary's trust in Elias grew. One night, she came to him with a small device. "I found this in my old things," she said softly. "It is a communicator, but it is locked." Elias took the device carefully. "Let's see if we can open it." Working together, they managed to unlock the communicator. Inside, they found messages, short, secret messages from others like Leary. They spoke of hope, fear, and plans to escape the old way of life. Leary's face grew serious. "There are many others who want freedom but do not know how." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we will help them." The two spent hours talking about what freedom really meant. Leary told Elias stories of her childhood, of rules and punishments, and of quiet moments when she dreamed of more. Elias shared stories of Earth, of cities filled with light and people who chose their own paths. Leary's eyes filled with tears. "I never thought I could choose." "You can," Elias said. "And you will." The next day, Elias gathered the crew. "Leary is not a slave," he told them. "She is part of our family now. She has skills that can help us all." Some crew members nodded slowly. Others still looked unsure. Elias continued, "We will treat her with respect, as we would any member of the crew." It was not perfect, but it was a start. That evening, Leary stood on the observation deck watching the stars. Elias joined her. "Do you miss your home?" he asked gently. Leary nodded. "Yes, but this ship feels like a new home. Good, Elias smiled. Because, wherever we go, you will have a choice, and I will stand with you. She looked at him, her voice steady now. Thank you, Elias. For everything. In the quiet of space, two very different lives were beginning to join. One, shaped by war and silence. The other, by hope and trust. Neither knew what the future held, but both knew one thing clearly. They would face it together. The horizon flame moved quietly through the empty space. The stars outside were cold and distant, but inside the ship, there was a new energy. Leary had begun to find her place among the crew, and Elias was proud to see her growing stronger. One morning, the ship received an unexpected message. It was from the nearby Zorathian border, coming from a small abandoned outpost that had once been used by the Empire during the war. The message was weak, but clear, a distress signal. It asked for help. Elias studied the message. This outpost was important during the war, he told the crew. But after the treaty it was abandoned. No one should be there. Maybe someone is trapped, Leary said softly. Or something has been left behind. Elias nodded. We will investigate. It might be dangerous, but we cannot ignore a call for help. The horizon flame changed course and headed toward the outpost. As they approached, the crew could see the dark, silent structure floating against the backdrop of stars. It was old and worn, but still strong. Elias, Leary, and a small team boarded the outpost in their spacesuits. Inside, the air was thin and cold. The walls were covered in strange symbols, and faded lights flickered in the halls. Leary's eyes grew wide as she looked around. This was a place where they trained people like me, she said, where they tried to make us obey without question. The team moved carefully through the outpost. They found old data terminals, locked doors, and strange machines humming softly in the shadows. Suddenly, the ship's AI warned them. Unidentified signals detected. Security systems still active. The group stopped. Leary stepped forward, looking at a glowing console. I can try to talk to it, she said. Maybe I can stop it. Elias nodded. Be careful. Leary placed her hand on the console and closed her eyes. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls, typing commands and decoding messages. The old system began to respond. A hologram appeared, showing the face of a Zorathian commander from years ago. The AI spoke in a cold voice. Unauthorized access. Identify yourself. Leary took a deep breath. I am Leary. I was once a servant. In this outpost, I have come to end the old orders. The AI paused, then softened. Orders no longer valid. Condition, stand down. The machines around them stopped humming. The security system shut down. The crew let out a breath of relief. As they explored further, Leary found old records, files that showed how many people had been kept as servants or prisoners. Their names were listed, many marked as lost or never found. It is a prison of memories, Leary whispered. A place that holds pain and silence. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. But you have the power to change that. You have already begun. In one room, they found a locked chamber. Inside were strange pods, machines that looked like they held living beings in stasis. Leary approached and examined the pods. These were meant to keep people trapped forever. Elias frowned. We can't leave them here. Working together, the crew used the ship's tools to open the pods. Inside were several beings, weak but alive. Leary helped them out, offering words of comfort. You are free now. Back on the ship, the rescued beings recovered. They were different species, all once slaves or prisoners of the Zorathian Empire. Elias watched as Leary spoke kindly to them, helping them understand they were no longer prisoners. One of the freed beings, a young scientist named Vel, approached Elias. Your kindness saved us, Vel said. We owe you and Leary our freedom. Elias shook his head. No, it is the courage of those who seek freedom that matters. Leary smiled quietly. and the chance to choose. But not everyone was happy. As the ship prepared to leave the outpost, a hidden warning flashed on the ship's monitors. The message was clear. Return the prisoners or face consequences. Elias frowned. Someone does not want us to free these people. Leary looked determined. We will not turn back. Freedom is worth fighting for. The crew prepared for their journey, knowing that the path ahead would not be easy. But for the first time they felt hope. A hope born from courage, kindness, and the belief that even the darkest past could be changed. The horizon flame glided through space, carrying its new passengers, those freed from the Zorathian outpost. The ship hummed softly, a quiet reminder of the journey ahead. Commander Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, watching the stars drift past. Beside him was Leary, who now moved with more confidence than before. The others were slowly adapting to life aboard a human ship, learning that freedom was more than a word. It was a new way of living. Leary spent her days speaking with the freed beings, helping them understand the small but important freedoms they now had. Simple things, choosing when to eat, when to sleep, and what to learn. Many had never experienced such choices before. One day in the ship's garden, Leary sat with a group of young freedlings. The garden was filled with bright flowers and soft light. It was a peaceful place, far from the harsh rules of their past. We are not slaves anymore, Leary said quietly. We can be anything we want. A young Zorathian girl looked up. But what if they want us back? What if the Empire still thinks we belong to them? Leary smiled softly. Then we must show them that we belong to ourselves, that freedom is stronger than fear. Back on the ship, not all humans agreed with Elias's decision to rescue the slaves. Some saw it as breaking the treaty, risking war again. The ship's communication console beeped suddenly. A message from the Terran Union's command center arrived. Commander Thorne, the message read, you are ordered to return the freed beings to Zorathian control immediately. Failure to comply will result in sanctions. Elias frowned but stayed calm. He turned to Leary. They want us to give them back. Leary's eyes burned with quiet anger. We cannot. They were not free before. How can we send them back to chains? Elias nodded. We will not. We fight with words and actions, not weapons. He gathered the crew. This ship stands for freedom. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will face any challenge without violence. The crew looked at him, some with hope, others with doubt. But Elias's voice was steady. We will find a better way. That night, the horizon flame moved closer to a peaceful planet in a nearby system. It was known for welcoming refugees and new citizens. Elias believed it could be a safe place for their passengers. Leary and the freed beings prepared to step onto this new world. For many, it would be their first step toward a new life. As they landed, the warm sun touched their faces. The air smelled fresh and clean. They were greeted by friendly faces, humans and aliens, who had built a community of trust and respect. Leary felt a strange mix of fear and hope. This is just the beginning, Elias said beside her. Here you will find your new path. On the planet, the freed beings started learning new skills: medicine, technology, art. Leary helped organize schools and workshops. She found joy in seeing others discover their talents. News of the rescue and new settlements spread quickly. Some across the galaxy cheered the act of kindness. Others, especially in Zorathian high places, were angry. One evening, a message arrived for Leary. It was an invitation, a call from a secret group of Zorathian rebels who opposed the old Empire's harsh ways. They wrote, "You have shown that change is possible. Join us, and together we can build a better future." Leary read the message carefully. She looked at Elias. "What do you think?" she asked. Elias smiled. "The choice is yours, but remember, every choice shapes the future." Meanwhile, the Terran Union debated the consequences of Elias's actions. Some leaders admired his courage. Others worried about breaking treaties and the chance of new conflicts. Elias stayed focused on one thing: helping those who had no voice. He knew that change was never easy. It needed patience, courage, and kindness. Back on the settlement planet, Leary stood before a group of freed beings and settlers. "We are not defined by the past," she told them. "We are the creators of our future. Together we will rise beyond the chains that once held us." Her words were met with quiet applause. For Leary, the journey from silence to voice was far from over. But with Elias by her side, and many new friends, she felt ready for whatever came next. The new settlement on the peaceful planet buzzed with activity. Freed beings learned new skills, built homes, and shared stories of hope. Leary had become a quiet but powerful leader, inspiring others to believe in their own strength. Yet far beyond the bright skies of the settlement, in the grand halls of the Zorathian High Council, not everyone was pleased. Leary's actions were seen as a challenge to the old order, a spark that could ignite change across the galaxy. One day, an invitation arrived for Leary. It was unlike any she had received before. The message came from the Galactic Council, the central body where leaders from many worlds gathered to discuss important matters. They invited Leary to speak at a special session, broadcast across countless star systems. The topic was freedom, equality, and the future of all species. Leary felt a mix of fear and determination. Speaking to so many was daunting, but she knew this was her chance to make a difference. Commander Elias Thorne stood beside her as they prepared. "You have the heart and voice to inspire millions," he said kindly. "Speak from your truth." Leary nodded. "I will." The day of the speech arrived. In a grand hall filled with holograms and screens, Leary stepped forward. Her silver-blue skin glowed softly under the lights, and her eyes shone with quiet strength. She began, "I stand here not as a slave, but as a free being. I speak for those who have been silenced for too long, for those who dream of choosing their own path." Her words traveled across the galaxy, reaching ears on distant planets and crowded cities. She told stories of her life, of fear, obedience, and the slow discovery of freedom. She spoke of the kindness shown by Elias and the hope that grew within her. "Freedom is not just a word," she said. "It is a right. It is the light that guides us through the darkest times." Listeners were moved. Many sent messages of support. Humans, aliens, and even some Zorathians reached out, saying her words gave them courage. But not everyone agreed. A group of Zorathian leaders accused her of stirring unrest. They demanded that the settlement be shut down and the freed beings returned. Back on the peaceful planet, Leary and Elias discussed their next steps. "We must continue," Elias said firmly. "Your voice has awakened many. The future is changing." Leary smiled. "Then I will speak again, and again." Her speech sparked a wave of conversations throughout the galaxy. Debates about equality, justice, and peace grew louder. For the first time, many species began to imagine a future where all beings, no matter their past, could live with dignity. But change also brought challenges. Leary received a secret message from the Zorathian rebel movement. They invited her to join them to lead a new effort to reshape their homeworld. She thought carefully. The path was risky, but the chance to help many more was too important to ignore. Elias supported her decision. "You have the strength to lead. I will stand with you no matter where you go." The speech was not just a moment. It was a beginning, a fire that would light the way for many. Leary, once a silent servant, had found her voice. And with it, the power to change a galaxy. The stars outside the ship were cold and silent, but inside the horizon flame, a quiet determination filled the air. Leary had made her decision. She would return to her homeworld, the Zorathian Empire, not as a servant but as a leader. Beside her stood Commander Elias Thorne, steady and calm. He had always believed in her, and now more than ever, he was ready to support her. The journey to the Zorathian homeworld was long. The ship passed through silent sectors of space, where once fierce battles had been fought. Now, Only memories remained. When the ship entered Zorathian orbit, Lyri looked down at the world she had once feared. The cities were vast and glittering, but beneath the surface tensions simmered. News of her return spread quickly. Some called her a hero, a symbol of change. Others whispered that she was a traitor to their traditions. Lyri knew the road ahead would be difficult. Upon landing, Lyri was met by a crowd of supporters. Scientists, workers, and young people gathered to welcome her. They had heard her story, and many had secretly hoped for a new future. But the High Council was not pleased. They sent officials to warn her. Return to your place or face exile. Lyri stood firm. My place is with my people, helping them find freedom and hope. Her words were bold, and they echoed through the city. Elias stayed close, offering quiet strength. You are not alone, he told her. We will face this together. Lyri began visiting communities across the planet. She listened to their struggles and dreams. She spoke about fairness, respect, and the power of choice. Many began to believe her. A movement grew, a peaceful call for reform. But not all accepted change. Some powerful leaders feared losing control. They spread rumors, trying to divide the people. Lyri knew that fear was their strongest weapon. One evening, as the sun set behind tall towers, Lyri stood before a large crowd. We will not be divided by fear, she said. We are stronger, together. Her voice carried hope. The movement gained momentum. Schools reopened with new lessons about equality. Workplaces changed to include all citizens. Laws were discussed that would protect freedom for everyone. The Zorathian Empire was beginning to transform. But the High Council remained stubborn. They issued a bounty, hoping to silence Lyri and her supporters. Despite the danger, Lyri refused to stop. One night, Elias and Lyri met quietly. Why do you risk so much? Elias asked. Because freedom is worth any risk, she replied. Because silence is no longer an option. Elias nodded. And I will stand with you, no matter what comes. Together they continued to build a new future, not just for Zorathians, but for all who dreamed of peace. Lyri was no longer a slave. She was a leader, a symbol, and a star guiding many toward hope. To be continued in Part 7, the star of a new future. The winds of change were blowing across the Zorathian homeworld. The peaceful protests and hopeful voices had grown louder and stronger. Where once silence and fear ruled, now ideas of freedom and fairness spread like sunlight across dark skies. Lyri stood on a high balcony overlooking the city. The lights twinkled like stars, but her eyes were focused on the future. It had been a long journey, from a silent servant to a leader inspiring millions. Beside her stood Commander Elias Thorne, ever steady and supportive. Despite the growing movement, the High Council had not given up. They continued to send warnings and tried to disrupt gatherings, but the people would not turn back. They had tasted hope, and it was sweet. One day, a peaceful rally gathered thousands in the capital square. Lyri took the stage and spoke with passion. We are the creators of our destiny, she said. No longer bound by old chains, we build a new world where every voice matters. The crowd cheered. Humans, Zorathians, and other species stood united. News of the movement reached other planets. The Terran Union and neighboring systems watched closely. Many sent messages of support, inspired by the courage of those who refused to give up. Elias and Lyri met with leaders from other worlds to discuss the future. We must stand together, Elias said. Unity is our strength. As months passed, changes became real. New laws were written to protect rights and ensure equality. Education improved, and old prejudices slowly faded. The Zorathian Empire was becoming something new, not a place of fear, but a home of hope. One evening, as the twin moons rose, a ceremony was held at the old outpost where Lyri had first found her freedom. A monument was unveiled, a shining star carved from crystal, glowing softly in the night. The inscription read one voice, one choice, one changed galaxy. Lyri stood beside Elias, tears in her eyes. This star was more than a symbol. It was a promise. The future was still uncertain. Challenges remained, but so did the spirit of those who believed in change. Leary looked at Elias and smiled. "We have come far," she said, "but this is only the beginning." Elias nodded. "Together, we will keep moving forward." The galaxy watched as a new chapter began, a story of courage, kindness, and the power of one voice to change the stars. Leary, once a slave girl, was now a shining star guiding many toward a better future. And with humanity's belief in dignity and freedom, the universe was brighter than ever before.